Hello, I'm Rebecca Downs. Welcome to another episode in the second series of my podcast, Downs Your Way, in association with Blues in Britain magazine. As usual, further details about me or the magazine can be found by the following links in the show notes. As you know, in this new series, I'm taking a new direction and I'm asking you to come along with me on a journey through the landscape of the current music scene, looking at what's going on, the impact it has on the musicians and how they deal with it. In this episode, I'm talking to my brother from another mother. It's Alan Nimmo, you know it is. Blues rock musician extraordinaire, singer, songwriter, leader of the mighty King, and another dog lover. Here's Alan's take on a very challenging music scene. And I got you now, and you're coming with me. And the very first person is the most amazing, the wonderfully talented, what else can I say? The very, very Scottish Glaswegian, Alan Nimmo of King. How you doing, mate?
I felt like I should have done a drum roll there, Rebecca. That was a good intro.
I'll edit one in, don't worry.
I got an invoice from my drummer for that if I did it.
Don't we all know that you probably would have. Well, yeah, so basically, I mean, you've been gigging loads recently, or, you know, it's all over your social media, everything like that. Well, it seems like a lot anyway. So how has it been after sort of gigging in the UK after lockdown? Like, is there any major differences that you can sort of see straight away?
Yes. It's become a lot more difficult, as I'm sure you understand. After the lockdown, after the COVID, people are reluctant. Some are reluctant. I mean, we do see numbers picking up. Of course we do, but there's still a lot of people reluctant to come out. I think the biggest issue that we face at the moment is and it's the thing that us bands get blamed for a lot. Which is nice to have an opportunity like this to try and clear some of that up. We live nowadays in a cancel culture, and that doesn't come from us. This is the horse talking, by the way, so take that as gospel. It doesn't come from us. We live in that type of world where things are easily just cancelled because it's a bit of a roundabout, really, isn't it? If there's not enough tickets sold in advance for shows, the promoters tend to want to pull them because no one can afford anymore to take that risk, to take the financial hit. Now, music fans are reluctant to buy tickets in advance in case the shows get cancelled. So, it's a catch-22 here. So when you used to rely on a good walk-up, that's now no longer the case. We have to have enough tickets sold well in advance for the show to actually go ahead. And that, as I say, that whole catch-22 thing's causing a whole lot of trouble for everyone. And then when a show gets pulled, unfortunately, the band tends to get the brunt of the blame for that. And 99.99999999% of the time, it is not our fault. We can't control certain things. We can only control certain things. Other things are out of our hands. The last UK tour we did was okay. Every show was good. It was there was a lot of people there to have a nice time. When you go back behind the scenes again and you look at it from a financial point of view, from our end, it was not great. That's the honest truth. It wasn't great at all, and things like that. The cost of things have never changed. In fact, they're probably going upwards. Things are very, very difficult to sustain nowadays, and a lot of the time, especially with the Brexit as well, is causing a massive issue with working abroad. It's at a point where it's actually costing money to go abroad. So it's getting to a stage where there's no point in going anymore. It's really, really, really difficult. And, some people like me are getting into financial difficulties. I mean, that's, everyone who knows me, like you know me well. I'm not one for the whole talking in riddles.
No, definitely not, I would say.
The smoke in the mirrors game is not one that I enjoy, so I just like to tell the truth. And I think you're right. I think this column this thing that you're doing now is a great idea, because I think there's some truths need to be told. And the truth is, the simple fact is that it's extremely difficult for bands like us to carry on like this. It's very, very difficult for us to sustain a living now. And that's been proven by the fact that almost all of us are all working at other jobs.
So it's like, is it basically the fact that it's the ticket sales, really? Majority number one in the UK, it's the ticket sales.
Well, if we can't get enough ticket sales, there's not enough money going around to pay for everything, basically. I mean, that's what you rely on. Merchandise sales are definitely down. You can't sell enough CDs, T-shirts anymore. We could spend a whole other day and add a week on that if getting into the chat about the whole streaming world now, the Spotify stuff and all that. When you've got 4 songs that have got over 1 million plays on Spotify, and you wouldn't be able to buy a loaf of bread with what you would get for that, then there's an issue. There's a real problem. But the thing is when we're all human beings, everybody wants a bargain. But when you get to a point where if you can get something for free now, why on earth would you go back to a state where you pay for it?
Yeah.
No one's going to do that. So this is going to carry on and continue, and it's probably going to ruin everything.
I think that the grassroots
happening in the movie world now as well. Everyone's shifting to Netflix. So big actors are taking massive payouts to maybe do 4 or 5 movies with Netflix or Prime or whatever, and they're taking a massive payout to do that because the movie industry's getting as bad as the music industry. The music industry was the first to really, really suffer, and it's suffering bad now. There's too many other people making a living, a very good living, from our hard work.
Mm-hmm.
We are the last people to be rewarded for our work. And if it wasn't for us being there on a stage, none of the people surrounding us would have anything to do. The problem also with that, with paying for things like PR and pluggers and stuff like that, is it's you're guaranteed nothing for it.
Good point.
Just to be willing to pay the money out to get these things, but it's like going to a casino. You're not guaranteed to get any result for it. So, you could pay someone thousands of pounds to promote your record or your single. There's no magazines left anymore. There's very little radio. I mean, everyone's jumped ship from Radio 2 now, and they're all pursuing other interests, and it's all private, and everyone's trying to be mainstream, but so you get ignored unless you're a teeny bopper in London. I think there's merit to what us middle-aged folks do in music.
Are you calling me middle-aged? Hang on a minute. Whoa,
I didn't mean you.
Whoa. Back up there. Okay, continue.
You can edit that bit if you like. But yeah, there's a lot of work gets done in the music industry. I mean, there's the top, then there's the bottom that everyone seems to be, which is a pet hate really. Everyone seems to be naming it grassroots, and it's like, it makes me really angry. It's like grassroots. What you mean people playing in pubs? I've done that. I literally gave up my youth to travel around the country doing things the old-fashioned way. Now, I know that we progress and we move on in the world, and there's new technology that makes things less labouring, if you will. But at the end of the day, there's an apprenticeship in this business that seems to be missing now. There's kids building an empire from their bedroom, and their first ever gig is on a massive festival stage. They have no idea what they're doing on there. They have no idea how it came around, and they haven't earned it. We are contributing. We are the bands who are constantly working, constantly contributing to our government society as well, because we all pay our taxes and we all have to pay for the roof over our heads, and we work hard at this. But your massive, for example, your huge festivals, you know, they're not really supporting anyone in the way up. So when all the older guys that are not so middle-aged, they're a lot older than that, all your famous folk that are, once they're no longer available to headline Glastonbury and the rest, it's a long way down to see the next band who can sell tickets for these festivals. So they're shooting themselves in the foot. Everything that's wrong in the industry has come from people who are not musicians, and they're bleeding it dry. To be perfectly honest, it's getting bled dry, and it's going to ruin it. And you and I have already seen it. We've already seen bands just put it all to bed, just say, we can no longer do this. Don't think for 1 minute, people, that these guys wanted to quit playing music. They're forced out of the business. They are forced out of it because they simply cannot afford to do this anymore.
One of the biggest challenges the industry faces is that there is no shortage of music. There really isn't, is there? In the year ending 2022, there were about 80 million songs on Spotify, with 49,000 being added each day. There were 11 million artists on the platform, but only just over 50,000 of those earned $10,000 or more. Rock music constituted only 4% of the tracks played by users.
It's a very difficult time at the moment. And I think, we've talked about this privately before, you know, if things don't change, if things aren't changed in this industry, there will be none left. There'll be no bands, there'll be no artists left. People won't get to go to gigs anymore because there'll be no one left to do that. And that's something that we have to stop. We have to make that not happen. So there's changes need to be made. I'm no expert in all of this, you know what I mean? I don't really know how we go about this other than hitting the reset button and starting again, but that's never going to happen. You know, we live in a technological world and it's going to stay that way and it's only going to get worse. So I don't know how we do this unless, not all of us have got the resources and the financial stability like Taylor Swift and all the rest of them to stand up to the industry and say, no, you're getting no more from me. We can't do that. If we stop working, people start banging your door.
If you people like us and you have to pay your band, you have to pay the musicians, you cannot go halfway up the country for 10 pence and an apple. You really can't. Unfortunately,
an apple would be all right.
If we had an apple,
that's another problem, Rebecca, as well, is the actual transportation. How we travel to and from gigs these days is extremely expensive and extremely difficult. Now, you know, again, the perception of a band is the idea, the purpose of it all is you would always try and create a perception that you were bigger than you are.
Sure.
So and that's kind of always how we always manage to do this. So when it looked like you were at this level, you weren't actually. It was the financial side to that was always way behind that. It always took a long time to catch up with that. So you're always chasing your tail. You're always taking risks. You never really you only ever get there's only ever these tiny crossover periods, isn't there, where financially it's working for a while and then it's time to take the next step, which causes you to spend more money. Well, not enough's coming in. So even and especially with the Brexit rules and all that as well, if I was to travel around the way we used to in the back of a Mercedes Sprinter splitter van for years, the weight restrictions are so bad now that and they've become so much more strict with things like that. You used to get away with it. You They wouldn't bother. They'd only be pulling in lorries and etc. to weigh them. But even with the conversion done on a van, for example, to make it into a splitter bus, with no one in it and no gear in it, it's already over the 3-ton weight.
And this is the new sort of going into Europe after Brexit.
Yes.
Right.
So you're looking at travelling with a big panel van, then another splitter bus for the band. You're looking to then hotel everyone every night.
Yeah.
You've got 2 drivers because none of the bands want to drive a van. They've got a show to play. So you've got that. They've got that issue, and then that's 2 lots of fuel, 2 van hires. Or nobody can afford to buy vans anymore. There's no point in buying them. There's money down the toilet. So then you move to a tour bus. Tour buses are great. They're convenient. They're comfortable. You walk off a stage and you come outside and you walk on the bus and you wake up the next morning and you're at the next venue. It's great, but it costs an absolute fortune. It costs an absolute fortune to look cool.
Yeah.
And you know what? Looking cool's one thing, but when you're lying there not sleeping on that bus because you're busy biting your nails on it, thinking about how much it costs you, then that's not conducive to your to getting a good show done. It's not healthy. But there's very little other ways to do this anymore. If I was to get rid of two band members, get rid of the sound engineer, the crew guy, and just go out in a three-piece band, jump in a van, take a little amp each, and just carry on. Now, yeah, you could make that almost affordable, but that's not kinking.
No.
That's not what I've poured so many hours into trying to create a sound with the band members, writing songs, making it work, choosing the right guys to have around you to make a certain sound that is kinking. That in turn is the sound that makes the band popular. That's what people want to hear. I cannot get rid of 2 members of the band and 2 crew guys. I've worked so hard to create this sound and this thing. What would be the point? You may as well just put it all to bed and say, I'm having the Alan Nimmo trio, and then just go do something different. But that's what all that work we've put in for years to try and keep on moving forward, to try and create a sound that now people, and and it's wonderful in the other sense that we've now got a body of fans, and we've got a body of music that is now part of people's lives.
Yeah.
Those songs, people, that's people's favourite songs, and it's that they get married to one of them, or they have birthday parties, or those things that really matter. Those are the things that you can't buy.
Yeah.
And we've worked hard enough all over these years to try and create that, and then if I do that, if I strip it all back down to that and do something completely different, that's just the same as the politicians telling us during COVID to go and retrain and do something else.
Yeah.
Because they don't care about the 30 years previous that we've put into this.
Yeah.
Most apprenticeships and degrees take 3 years to get. We do this over a lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, I started gigging in bands at 12. How old were you?
I was 13. I'd just turned 13 in my first gig.
Right.
So, and then it continued from there.
Yeah, and I always say, and the pain continued from there. I mean, as you just said, though, it's those fans, those true King fans that are singing the songs back at you. We're not having a go at audiences. We're not doing that. We understand you.
I feel really bad for audiences because they're being forced to spend so much money. Especially after COVID, everyone wants to gig. Everyone wants to get back to work. Everyone wants to start earning again. Of course, we all do. But there's been so many closures of venues, so many festivals packed it up, blah blah blah. All of this, and fans have been all the gigs are getting flung into one. They're getting bottlenecked into one time, and fans are expected to just keep spending money, keep spending, and some ticket prices are ridiculously high.
Yeah.
We try our best to keep ours as low as we can possibly keep them.
Yeah.
For it to actually almost even break even at times, but it's very difficult. But if You've got people, I know people here in Glasgow that they've got there's a gig on Thursday night, there's a gig on Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, there's another one on Tuesday. And they're paying out upwards of 20, between 20 and sometimes 100 quid to go out and watch this. That's a lot of money you're asking for people to spend all the time. So, like you say, we are not having a dig. We're the most appreciative people of the fans for spending that kind of money. And we know how difficult that is. We know how difficult it is to keep on, finding cash for that for a luxury entertainment.
Yeah, because
and I don't know what else to say other than we really appreciate it. However, it's still extremely difficult for us.
Yeah.
Because out of that ticket money, as I say, if back in the heyday of music, bands what money was made from touring was basically to go and have a party with. I mean, you made your money elsewhere. You made your money by selling albums and this, that, and the next thing. That's not happening anymore. Bands like us, we've got to tour constantly, but the problem is, you tour constantly, you oversaturate that market, you play too often, and ultimately people stop coming because they'll say, I won't see them this time. I'll go and see someone else tonight because they'll be back again in a few months. For us to make it work in that sense, we've got to play way, way less. We can't be available all the time.
Yeah.
We can't afford to be sat idle, not doing anything. So again, another catch-22 where you have to not be playing, but when you're not playing, you're not earning because there's no other avenues of income that are coming along that used to be there. There's nothing. So, the COVID thing forced people into sticking their camera up in the living room and playing in front of that and getting paid for it. That's a difficult thing to do now because it's been done.
Yeah. And nobody really wants it now, really.
No, not really. And the other thing is for people, I don't know, right? I speak for myself here because I am utterly useless with technology. We talk about ways to monetize things through social media, Instagram, Facebook, etc., YouTube, all that stuff. I mean, if we were to properly dive into that game, you'd never see us on a stage ever again. There's far too much involved in it. Wouldn't see us on a stage. What would be the point? People can sit on a Friday night with a glass of wine in their house with their feet up and stick on their computer or their big TV and stick YouTube on and watch it. And you're desperately trying to get a couple of hundred people when you've got apparently thousands and thousands of fans. You can't get 200 people to subscribe a $5 a month to you for this.
Yeah.
We don't bother.
Yeah.
Because the effort and the work that gets put into that is massive.
Yes.
And then you got you've got you have 5 people said they'd subscribe to it. Then after a month they unsubscribed it because they're bored.
Yeah.
Or there's something else.
Or the cost of living's gone up again, or the gas bills come in, or whatever it is.
Or it's like, well, I'm going to 6 gigs this month. I've already paid a fortune. I'm not. It's such a shame because for us and music fans out there, that it's difficult for everyone to get what they need.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, most people know that I do teach at like a uni, and and she's a very, very talented. I would say sort of pop dance singer-songwriter, classically trained, really, clever girl. And she said to me during one lesson, I don't know why we're doing this, Becky. And I said, what do you mean this is in front of the whole class? She said, well, I don't understand why I need to learn to sing live.
Oh, my.
So, and that's from somebody who is,
Hang on, I'll get me boxer matches. We'll just set fire to all of it.
So, but that's somebody who is, who's booming their social media, TikTok, all the rest of it. And I know it's another genre. I know all that, but it was a very sort of, I was floored by that comment. Yeah. Absolutely floored, because what coming back to what you said slightly earlier, if she actually sort of, I hate the word make it, but do you know what I mean? If she actually gets somewhere within that even more saturated industry of pop, she will be on the Isle of Wight stage. She will be on the Pyramid stage of Glastonbury, and that will be her first appearance. Just like what we said.
That's the thing, innit? It's like I watched all these festivals last year. You know, you see the footage of them all, and you're looking at kids on an empty stage.
Yep.
And you're looking at you've got to delve into why people bought tickets. Now, all right, again, I harp on about how things were. We all understand it again, how things move on and we move forward. But at the end of the day, when you've got 50,000 kids buying tickets for a weekend festival, not one of them is saying, I'm buying a ticket this because my favourite band are playing. They are buying a ticket for a drunken weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it just happens to be that some name that gets suggested to them on the Spotify playlist happens to be on that bill. So they go along and sing along with their back turned to the stage, singing along to a tune that they know from Spotify. And I see an empty stage. No, there's no instruments. There's a computer and a young person. And it's pretty much it. It looks sad now. It looks like, you look at a stage at a big festival now and it's empty. Just empty. There's a stand with a computer on it, and maybe somebody with a keyboard playing some loops or some triggers or whatever, but it's like, that's it. There's nobody's buying a ticket because their favourite band's on. Music is changing so much, but my fear is that it's changing, the industry's changing so much that there's not going to be any music left anymore. It's already feeling like it's not about music anymore. And that's, how can that be? How can you have a music industry? It's not about music. You know,
I think you're absolutely right. And it's like, you know, a band that I know that are kind of, you know, sort of pop rock crossover, you know, they're younger and all the rest of it. I mean, they were saying they were told by their tour booker and manager, well, you need to get, you know, a song trending on TikTok before you'll be taken seriously. And you just think,
I don't know what trending on TikTok means.
It's just popular and whatever. It means that there's a clock in the background going tick-tock. You're just dancing in front of it. That's what it actually means. But, you know, you hear a story like that and you just think, oh, you know. And there was another story from one of my kids that said they saw this particular artist, can't remember the name, at a festival, who'd got famous off one TikTok track. But obviously TikTok is only like 30 seconds, 1 minute. So everyone knew the first verse and sung along, but didn't know any more. Because they hadn't gone to Spotify. They hadn't gone anywhere else.
You see, here's my issue with all of that. Fame seems to be one thing, but how that benefits any of these artists is beyond me. Because, you know, you've got thousands and thousands of people recognising some 30-second bit of a tune on TikTok, or you've got someone, you know, you've got millions of people listening or you know, streaming a song on Spotify, and that's great. Okay, you've got millions of young kids who know who you are, but they're not paying for any of it.
No.
So how is that going to benefit the artist other than being famous? Tell you what, if I can go down to the bank tomorrow morning and ask them if it's all right if my mortgage can be covered because I'm famous, then and if they say yes, then sweet, let's all get fired into TikTok. But we all know that's not the reality. So my question is, how does this benefit artists in any way? Because you've got loads of little kiddywinks who know who you are on a social media site that they get for free. It doesn't benefit us in any manner.
No, at all.
That is the thing that's contributing to the end of the music industry, because that's the way music is presented to people now.
Yeah.
You know, and even at that, like, you know, most 18-year-old kids don't have any money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything anyway. So they've geared this stuff to target that audience, that age group, because it's free.
Yeah.
So, but again, all it does is exploit people like you and me to give them things for free.
Yeah.
And we are too old for them to be interested in us anyway, so they don't look at us anyway.
Exactly. And I remember, another student story, but just said to me, I just really want to be famous, Becky. And I went, okay, then. I said, well, I don't know, you could go and stick your head in a microwave. Because there's a bloke from Wolverhampton, I think he cemented his head in a microwave and got really famous for a bit. And I said it deadpan like that. And she just looked at me. I went, but that's fame. Why is it that fame and music are so intrinsically linked? I remember when I started out with my guitarist and the band I was in at the time, of course you have your dreams. Of course you bloody do. But it was just about, can we get a gig at the pub down the road? Can we get oh my God, somebody said we could make a CD. Oh my God, this is so exciting. And we didn't think, what about if we get famous? We were thinking very much about the music and playing it and writing it.
You wanted to enjoy it, didn't you? You wanted to enjoy doing what you did. I mean, years ago, I used to work in schools, and I used to work with kids, and up here, you near the end of your second year of high school, you've got to pick your subjects that you're going to take, because that's when you start thinking about what kind of career you want after school. And I remember sitting in a classroom with a whole bunch of boys and girls. Am I allowed to say boys and girls?
I just we can get away with it. Plus,
all right. Okay. So I'm sitting with these kids, and this was how tragic. I mean, I'm going back now, maybe nearly 20 years now, and I said to one particular lad, I said, "So, what do you think about what you want to do after school?" And he said, "I want to be a footballer." I said, "Okay, great." I said, "Just try and indulge me. Tell me why. Why do you want to be a footballer?" Because the answers I'm expecting are because every single day I want to kick a ball. I just want to play football. That's all I think about. Football's just like everything to me. He said, "Because I want to be rich and famous."
There we have it, kids.
And that was it. And even worse, at the time when I turned to one of the young girls and said to her, "Now this is probably this is probably more of a statement about about Glasgow, maybe, or the country we live in." But I said to one of the girls, "What do you want to do?" And she says, "Nothing. I'm just going to get pregnant and get a free house."
Whoa.
And I almost burst into tears, because that to me was just a big, massive alarm bell going off, saying this whole world's going to ruin,
upside down,
And if that's the way that kids are, if that's the way that 13 and 14-year-olds are thinking back then, think about how they think now.
Absolutely.
No one wants a job anymore. They all want to be Instagram influencers, and no one wants, no one sees honest work anymore as something that's worth doing. It's just how I want to do whatever makes me a pile of money so I can be famous. It's not about, I don't even believe it's about money with most of them nowadays.
No, I think it is fame. I think you're 100% right.
And that's tragic. That's really sad. And again, though, but what happens is people like us who are caught in the middle of two generations.
Yeah.
We are the ones that will ultimately suffer.
Yeah.
Because we are still working. We still need to work. We don't come from the brand new generation of millennial kids and the millennial thinking. We're not quite back from the older generation before us. We're right slap bang in the middle, which means we're the ones that are going to get caught in the crossfire of it, and we're going to be the ones who suffer. And that's something that I don't know what to do about that. But there's so many things needing to be rethought, and changed. I would hate to think that, and you think about the music that you and I listen to is nowadays, and the stuff that we were kind of influenced by and took our standards from was now 60 years old.
Yeah.
Imagine in 60 years from now, I don't think music will exist.
No. I mean, mine's older than 60 years old. It was like swing and jazz and Ella Fitzgerald start off point.
Absolutely,
Like,
I mean, my question is now is do you think any one of us will be remembered in 50 years from now? Or will music even be... I don't think music will be anywhere near the same as it is now. I don't think it will be as important to anyone.
No, I think and that's a really good point as well about it being important, because, you'll remember, like I do, you're saving up your money, you're going to HMV, you're buying your tape, cassette, vinyl or CD or whatever it was, and spending like maybe 2 hours in HMV, just like making sure you got the right thing, got the finger going around the album, see if you can get a deal, and then going home and putting that music on and absorbing the whole album with the lyrics, probably 3 or 4 times, in that space that you've just bought.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing, isn't it? No one seems to listen to an album from start to finish now. It's a shuffled song playlist.
She's so...
It's like, I used to love that. You're right. You either go to Tour Records or HMV or Woolworths.
Yeah.
You grab and you jump, you go back home and you just stick the album on. It would just be on repeat constantly.
Yeah, constantly.
And you absorbed it all in and you got to know all those songs. And
it was exciting.
You went to the Barrowlands to watch that band because that was they were touring that. And it was like, that's great. I finally got to play the Barrowlands as a boyhood dream, and it was so stressful. and it was... and a lot, and it was a great night.
Why was it stressful? Go on, why was it stressful?
It costs a fortune.
Right. You've heard it here, folks. You've heard it here. Right?
It costs a fortune to do. And there's and when you've got all that rolling around your head, it's hard to walk on a stage and click to creative guy and it's always there. It's in the back of your head. I'm standing playing a song and there's 1,400 people in front of me, seemingly loving it, and I'm trying my best to absorb the greatness of what it is. But you know that, like, I've got to sort that out. I've got to... how much does that cost? It's like, there's thousands of pounds going out just to put the show on. And we get it. Everyone's got a responsibility and everyone's got a right to earn their money. But so do we.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got as much right as everybody else to earn our living. And at the end of the day, I've been on that side. I was stage crew for so many years, and I understand what it's like to be on the other side of the stage, and I understand the importance of us. But at the end of the day, if there wasn't a band playing that night, I would have been sat in the house. I wouldn't have got a call to go and be a stage crew guy that night because there's nothing on.
Yeah.
So we've all got to respect one another, and that's fine. That's what I get. But I do genuinely feel that at times it's the advantage being taken from people like us. It's that we get paid last.
Yeah.
We don't get paid because if there's nothing left after everything goes out, you get nothing.
So that's another important point there. Basically, if you are heading up the band, a lot of the time, or if you're like me and Steve, we both head it up together. You pay everyone else. You don't even think about yourself a lot of the time because you can't even go there. You're literally just seeing how much it costs to put that show up. And then you're stressing about how many tickets you've sold. The stress for that, as we've talked about earlier, is, I mean, for me, I have to say, I'm sure you'll agree, it is, it will keep me up at night. And I'll be doing everything I can to sell those tickets.
Yeah.
Everything I can, but Absolutely. It will keep me up at night.
Absolutely, it does. And that's not good for us. That's not how this should be. There's got to be some enjoyment in this, and don't and to be honest, that's the reason why I know personally. That's the reason I know that's why you and I keep going, because of our genuine love for this. We genuinely love. I'm at home on a stage. I'm at home performing music, playing with the guys around me. There's a feeling that you get from that you can't buy. You can't. No amount of pills or powder or needles will touch it ever in your lifetime. It's something special, and what I don't want is for that to be taken away. I don't want that. I don't want that feeling to go. You know, nobody wants to see me walking on stage looking afraid and vulnerable and worried. Nobody wants to see that. They want to see a person walk on stage and command the room and be jolly and be absolutely in love with what you're doing, and I am.
Research commissioned by Rebecca Downs Music Limited revealed that 76% of musicians acknowledge that they struggle with their mental health on a regular basis. The top causes of this were feeling of isolation or loneliness, 33%, fewer people going out to shows, 32%, rising prices, 28%, a bad diet, 27%, job insecurity, 18%, and the impact of always having to be on social media, 16%.
Well, look, at the end of the day, you know, for any business to work and be successful, it takes investment. You have to invest in it. You have to keep putting money into it. The music industry is no different. But when you don't have any money to invest, it gets extremely difficult. And that's when things start grinding to a halt and it becomes really worrying. And then, because until now, none of this information's been really exposed to anyone, people just think, oh, what happened to that band? They just gave up. Oh, they got fed up with it. It's like, no, we didn't. Trust me. There's nothing I want more in my entire life than to be knowing that I can walk onto a stage and play in front of people. That's my biggest love in the world. And so you know, we need to find ways. We need to find a way to make this work again. And if that means, you know, cutting a lot of middlemen out and doing, you know, get your hands dirty again, so be it. Because, you know, this has to mean more to us than it does anyone else. To everyone else, it's just a payday. To us, it's
everything.
It's your life, it's your heart, it's your soul. It's absolutely everything. And if that's taken away from us, we're not living as ourselves. We're not. That's not who I am. If I'm not this guy.
No, I know.
And that's something I don't want to happen.
Because this takes a massive toll. I'm sorry that I'm keeping you so long, so you know, I won't keep you much longer. But how do you sort of manage the mental health side of it, like keeping yourself sort of a little bit, you know, because you know, you don't have to disclose anything, but you know, I know you've got, you know, access to two beautiful dogs. I know they must help. You know,
well, I drink a lot.
Yeah.
Trying to stay mentally on top of everything. It's like anyone, you know, anyone who's ever been in a position where they're, you know, they're struggling financially or struggling, you know, with anything else. It's very, very difficult to keep a lid on it, and you have to try. You've got to rely on you got to talk about things. You got to stay a bit open. You got to rely on the support from your friends and family, like you say. Even sometimes just getting the dogs and just going for a massive walk and just like in the hills and just taking 4 or 5 hours out of your day and just saying, you know what, I need this. So, it can help because, you know, that you know, the movements, the physical side of it just gets you moving, gets the blood flowing again, makes you feel a bit better as well, makes you sort of a bit more equipped to handle what the next, you know, calamity that's coming your way. But yeah, it's really, really hard. I'm not going to lie about that. It's been extremely difficult. But you know, like I said, you know, people kind of don't want to see that. You know what I mean? They want, you know, we're in the business of entertaining, and you know, and I'm not going to take that to those people. You know what I mean?
No.
It's not. You don't have to worry about that. I just want to be able to make sure that when they buy a ticket, I can entertain them as best as I can.
Of course.
Behind the scene, yeah, you know, I've struggled big time. I know you know that. But what do? You carry on, don't you? You crack on, and you get on with it, because no one's going to dig you out of it. You have to do it yourself.
It's worth living for, and I got you now.
In our recent research, 66% of musicians said that interacting with their dog helped to relieve stress and anxiety. In addition, 49% of musicians said their dog provided companionship on lonely days. Last question to finish on, and I know that, as I say, you've been very honest and open. I really appreciate that, because I think it kind of needs to be honest and open. People kind of need to know just how much this is, hurting artists at the moment and bands. So, I've dissed some of my students. I'm going to big some of them up. I do work with some amazing students who are playing, who are performing, who are trying to get as many gigs as they can. And they're incredible. And I swear to God, if I won the lottery, I'd back them myself. Like, I absolutely love them to bits, some of them. Some of them, not all of them, right? So what advice would you give to a young band starting now? And there are a lot of guitar bands, because I see them every week.
I always have said that we always need to maintain the standard. Now, what I mean by that is that we have to, each generation of bands, musicians that come up has to be thinking about what they're writing, thinking about how they're performing, like keeping that standard, making sure that we're in the bit, you understand that we're in the business of entertainment, which means you've got to entertain people. You can't indulge yourself all the time. You have to entertain people. You have to find the balance between doing that, between writing great songs that are entertaining and being an entertainer, being someone that can. I've seen so many talented people lose an audience within 5 minutes because they cannot communicate them. They can't connect with them. You've got to be able to do that. It's sometimes maybe it is just sometimes showing that little bit of vulnerability in front of them to show them that you're a human being, and does make a connection. And that's the advice I can give is just don't let outside factors break your circle.
Yeah.
You start out as a band, especially kids that start out as when they grow up together, or they go to school together, and they're mates, they're a bunch of friends. Keep that in mind all the time. That's what I would say. Keep that in mind. Be sure all you guys are pulling in the right direction, one direction together. And when other factors, and I mean other people try and break those chains between you, break those links, don't let them. Don't let money get in your way. Don't let money cause arguments between you and your bandmates. Remember always what you did this for. Remember why you're doing this in the first place. Don't let all that other garbage get into your head and ruin things for you, when somebody will always be in the background, twisting and turning and manipulating. Always. Trust me on that. There are lots and lots of great people in the world. Unfortunately, there are also lots of right bad bastards.
Absolutely.
And they'll try and take you for everything you've got.
Yeah.
Just stick together, and only quit if you're going to quit. Only do it for the right reasons. Don't do it because someone else has just caused a bit of trouble. Do you know what? See, when there's a bad apple in the basket, what do you do with it? You throw it away.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. But basically, it's about the music, folks. If it's about the fame, you'd better stop now, because you've got no control over that. But what you have got control over is writing, performing, and loving what you do. But you ain't got no control over everything else. So just enjoy that. And that's it.
Correct,
Alan. It's been an absolute pleasure. I thank you again for being so candid. Thanks again. And we will speak very soon. I love you so much. Take it easy, bro.
Nice to talk to you, pal. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
I love the heat coming from this game, and I got you now. I got you now. You're coming with me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Series 2 of Downs Your Way in association with Blues in Britain magazine. Massive, huge thank you to my brother in arms, Mr. Alan Nimmo of the amazing King. Such an incredible singer-songwriter. And thanks again, Alan, for telling it how it is. And that was literally no smoke and mirrors, people. That was exactly how it is. Really appreciate it. As usual, if you have any comments, questions or feedback, please email me or message me. Contact details are in the show notes. Next week's episode will be the last in the current mini-series, but it will feature a surprise guest. Woo! Full details will be revealed at publication, and it should be online at 9 a.m. on Friday, the 15th of September. Thank you so much for listening. If you like the podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe. And I'll see you then.